Hi, it is so good to see you. I am doing kind of an impromptu video here. I am actually at a local library doing some work and some scheduling and some planning for the year. I have about an hour and a half little block of time, so I'm spread out on this table. I know you can't see it, but I have my coffee. I have a printed out calendar through July, so I just did it for half the year, and then I have my schedule that you know I love, my Erin Condren schedule here. And some chocolate because that helps me get through little blocks of time like this. But I was thinking about goals, and with it being January, obviously it's a really hot topic. And for the past few years, I've noticed kind of this movement of people getting away from setting goals. And I think it's really interesting. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit and basically what I do to set goals. See if it might help you. So I am a goal setter. It helps me in a few different ways, but I might do it a little bit differently than what you know of as traditional goals. So what I tend to do is at the very beginning of the year, I will break it into three categories. So for me, it's personal and fitness and business. Those are the three categories that I go for. And then what I would recommend is that you kind of start with maybe 3 goals in each one that you might want to see in a year time. I take this very kind of informally, very lightly, in that I don't sit and write times down, but that's just not necessarily how my brain works. Yours might. So let's say it's a fitness category, and let's say that you do want to run like a sub 4-hour marathon. All right, so that's where timing is going to be important to you, and you might want to make a goal of when that might happen, or when you'll get to, sub 4.5 versus then getting to sub 4. Or if you want to do a certain amount of pull-ups. My goal once upon a time was just to do 1 pull-up. 1. And I still have a fitness goal in my lifetime of doing 1 pull-up. I was almost there. It was so close. And then I got pregnant with our second baby, and I haven't even tried yet with my body not quite recovering, but it's still there. So it depends on how your brain works. That's something you really want to take into account, that how I set goals might not work for you, and how your neighbor sets goals might not work for you. How you set goals might not work for your kids or your spouse. So you really want to know what motivates you and what kind of keeps you on track. So for me, I do like to set them for a year. And like I said, I do a few for personal. So that might be spending more time with your kids or meditating more or something like that. Then I go for fitness. They could be anywhere from trying a new fitness class to how many days a week. For me this year is getting back into regular yoga once a week. That really made a big difference. I started it about 10 years ago. And then again, when we moved to California, I kind of stopped a regular practice because I didn't find a studio I liked. And then I got pregnant, and then we had a baby. And now it's really my goal. I found a studio I really like. I know I need someone to teach me, and that's one thing that I need to do is go to someone else. That's how I work best, at least as a student in yoga. And so that's my goal, is once a week. It's just best for my body. So for example, that's what is on my fitness goal. So you're going to do what works for you. And then for business, and I definitely have some for business, that's where numbers might come into play. If you own your own business, maybe you want to add someone to your team. If you work for another company, maybe you want to change positions, or maybe you want to be seen as more of a leader. Maybe you want to travel more or travel less with your work. So things like that. You can find out what works best for you. But I would say start with 3, because it's really easy to go so big and think of all these things you want, but you want to set yourself up for success. And so start with about 3. That's what our brain can probably focus on. And then another thing is I do 2 things. I break it into kind of short term and then also long term. So for me, short term, I would say is a year. It sounds like a long time, but I also have some big goals and what I call more visions. We have a couple in our personal life of maybe owning a certain house, or where we might want to own another house, or where we might want to send our kids to school, something like that, right? For your personal life. And that's maybe farther down the line. But if you just keep them far out and you just always think, I want that someday, I want that someday, then you're never quite doing the little things to get you there. So another great tool, and something I just keep in the back of my mind, is I know what kind of some long-term goals are. Again, fitness, personal, and in business. And I work back from there. So let's say I have this 10-year goal. So let's say somebody works 9 to 5. You might be that person where you work 9 to 5, you work for someone else, and you have a long-term goal of owning your own company. But you know that probably can't happen in the next 1 or even 2 years. That is fine. That's awesome. Make it your 5-year goal. Hang on to that. Keep your vision on that and work backwards and decide what's one thing you can do this year that would get you closer to that. It might be just even figuring out what kind of business you want to open, right? And so work backwards and make that a 1-year goal. Same with fitness, all right? If you do want to lose weight, let's say you want to lose 30 pounds, very respectable goal. Your doctor has told you for your health you want to be at that spot, but you know that might be a lot for this year, or your brain hasn't quite gotten there yet. Put it out for 2 years. That's great. And then work backwards and decide what's one thing you need to do this year to help you get to that point. So you can see it works for any category. So that's another thing that I do. And we do it together actually as a family. We sit on New Year's Day. We make our vision boards together. Even our daughter got involved. And those are kind of our big long-term things. And then we personally, my husband and I at least, will take the next week to just on our own decide what needs to happen that year for us to help get us towards that long-term goal. So like I said, that's really what works for me. And then I will break it down even more. So where these come into play, this is what works for me in business, at least owning my own business is, like I said, I love my paper calendar. I love my phone. I use that for daily reminders every day. We have a shared family calendar, but I'm such a paper person that this helps me a lot for organizing certain things. Let's say you have a really big project or event and you need to get certain things done and you're breaking it down into duties and who needs to do what. This is where this comes into play with me. And I literally will X off the day as it goes. I can bring it out every morning, just quick glance at it to see what needs to happen that week or what needs to happen that day. So that helps me a lot. And I like to color code it and write things down. And then again, however your personal goals are, you would fit them in to your other calendar as well. Let's say it's to spend more time with your family or simply to get some rest because you know you work too hard. Put that in your calendar. Write in a full week vacation, even if you don't know where you're going or what you're doing. Write it in, just block it off, and then let the rest of your calendar kind of work around it and flow around it. Because if you don't write it in now, I promise you, you probably won't do it or get it done. So that's what I'm trying to do. When my family comes into town, I block that off so that I know I don't do big projects. I might not get in my workout days that time. That's totally fine. But if I do have a fitness goal, I can just kind of front end it that week, right? I can do a couple extra and not take a rest day earlier in the week or later in the week because I know I'm going to have some rest in that in-between time. So that's how it works for me. I do, one other thing I wanted to tell you. You'll hear a lot about words of the year. That's kind of a new thing I feel like over the past couple of years. And I do that. I don't share my word with anyone. But what it does for me, choosing this one word to kind of be a theme for the year, it helps me make decisions during the day and then also kind of more long-term. But really for me, it's kind of a daily thing. If I'm deciding between A and B, or if someone comes to me and says, can you be involved in this project? Or if it's a work decision, whatever it is, I can actually kind of think of that word and decide if that decision is going to fit into that or not. And that might seem very trivial, but for me, that's really how it works. Some people decide a word of service. A friend of mine has that word. It's a fabulous word right now. So that will help her make decisions in personal life and in business when deciding whether to join a big project or to travel. Service is her word. Community, I've heard. Discipline actually recently is a word, just somebody who wants to really be true to herself and take time to eat right, take time to exercise, take time to be with her family. She wants to be really disciplined in that. And so I do like personally choosing a word for the year. It's just an overarching theme for me. I still do the smaller goals. I still write them down, everything I just told you. But that word is kind of the overarching theme to help me know where I need to make my decisions, where I need to spend my time. And then also if I feel myself just getting, which happens to all of us, right? And we'll find ourselves kind of getting off track or starting to get anxious, or suddenly the snowball feels like it's moving and we can't stop it. And you look back and say, what just happened the last 2 weeks? That's where my word really helps me get back on track. Because I say, this is what I'm working on this year in my life, and so I'm going to put my energy right back in that, and it helps me get back on that road. So that's how I use the word of the year. I hope that helps you. Again, what I think about goals is that they're individual. You should only make them if they make you feel good and they excite you. Don't make your goals for anybody else. Don't make your goals out of fear, out of pressure, out of feeling that you should. You won't accomplish them and you shouldn't have them. The goals should be for you. That is it. They should also maybe scare you a little bit sometimes, and that's okay. Not a big fear that paralyzes you, but goals should be big enough that you wonder just a little bit like, gosh, can I do that? I'm not sure. Maybe I can. If you know for a fact that you can do a goal, if that's just something easy to check off a list, then your goal isn't big enough. Make it a little bigger. It should give you just a little bit of that butterfly in the stomach feeling, but it should never make you feel bad. It should never make you feel ashamed. It should never make you feel guilty. You should not do it for any reason other than you want to do it and it makes you feel good. That is my final piece of advice for making goals. I'm going to get back to my plan and my scheduling, and I will see you guys next time with a great workout. Bye.